Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Gopijana Balava Girivanadari Gopijana Balava Girivanadari Jasodanandana Vajjana Randana Jasodanandana Vajjana Randana Jamunati Ravanatari Jamunati Ravanatari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Vihari Prabhu Gopijana Balava Girivanandari Jasodanandana Vajjana Ranjana Jamunati Ravanatari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bo Krishna, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jai Vishwapad Paramhansa Parib Jagacharya Sita Shishman Divine Grace Abhaicharan Bhakti Vedanta Sai Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Anantakoda Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Shri Goho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadada Shiva Sari Goa Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavadam Ki Maturadam Ki Dwarkadam Ki Navadipdam Ki Jagnapuridam Ki Jamuna Mai Ki Ganga Mai Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Samveda Bhakta Vinda Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki Se Siddhara Kiridati Ki Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga Ki Go Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to divine Lotus Sita Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Krishna Swadamo Bhagate Damaganadi Pisaha Kalanda Sadasham Mesha Parano Konadodata Narayana Namaskritchandaram Chaivam Narotama Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat. The Bhagavatam is his brilliant as the sun. Is it arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied with knowledge, religion, etc. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of the age of Kali should get light out of this Purana. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, we should first offer respects to the personality of God in Narayan, the Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, the goddess of the ring with the Saraswati, and the author Srila Vyasadeva. So we are on text 17. All right. What we're going to do is have a short class, and then we'll finish up reading those different vignettes about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura, because there are some real jewels in there. I think you'll find that enlivening. Tasyatma tantrasya hare adisuta parasya mayadipatir mahatmana prayena tuta iha vai manoharas charanti tad rupa guna swabhava. I'm trying to think of the Brahma Samhita. Tasyat matantrasya Tantrasya Hare Krishna. Tasyatma tantrasya Hare Radisuta. Parasya mayari patir mahatmana. Prayena duta hyavai manoharash. Charanti tad rupa guna swabhavaha. Tasyatma tantrasya Hare Radisutu. Parasya mayari patir mahatmana. Prayena duta hyavai manoharash. Charanti tad rupa guna swabhavaha. Tasyatma tantrasya Hare Radisutu. Parasya mayari patir mahatmana. Prayena duta hyavai manoharash. Charanti tad rupa guna swabhavaha. Tasyatma tantrasya Hare Radisutu. Parasya maya. Prayena duta hyavai manoharas.
Tasyatmatantrasya Hare Radisutu. Parasya mayadipatir mahatmana. Prayena duta hyavai manohara. Charanti tad rupa guna swabhavaha.
Tasyatmatantrasya Hare Radisutu.
Tasyatmatantrasya Hare Radisutu.
Parasya mayadipatir mahatmana.
Parasya mayadipatir mahatmana.
Prayena duta hyavai manohara.
Prayena duta hyavai manohara.
Charanti tad rupa guna swabhavaha.
Charanti tad rupa guna swabhavaha.
Vaishnavis. Tasyatma tantrasya Hare Radisutu. Parasya mayadipatir mahatmana. Prayena duta hyavai manohara. Charanti tad rupa guna swabhavaha. Tasya, of him. Atmatantrasya, being self-sufficient, not dependent on any other person. Hare, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Adisutu, who is the master of everything. Parasya, the transcendence. Maya adipate, the master of the illusory energy. Mahatma, of the Supreme Soul. Prayena, almost. Duta, the order carriers. Iha, in this world. Vai, indeed. Manohara, pleasing in their dealings and bodily features. Charanti, they move. Tat, of him. Rupa, possessing the bodily features. Guna, the transcendental qualities. Swabhavaha, and nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is self-sufficient and fully independent. He is the master of everyone and everything, including the illusory energy. He has his form, qualities, and features. Similarly, his order carriers, the Vaisnavas, who are very beautiful, possess bodily features, transcendental qualities, and a transcendental nature almost like his. They always wander within this world with full independence. Also, you say, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is self-sufficient and fully independent. He is the master of everyone and everything, including the illusory energy. He has his form, qualities, and features. Similarly, his order carriers, the Vaisnavas, who are very beautiful, possess bodily features, transcendental qualities, and a transcendental nature almost like his. They always wander within this world with full independence. Yamaraj was describing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Controller. But the order carriers of Yamaraj were very eager to know about the Vishnudutas, who had defeated them in their encounter with the Jamila. Yamaraj therefore stated that the Vishnudutas resemble the Supreme Personality of Godhead in their bodily features, transcendental qualities, and nature. In other words, the Vishnudutas, or Vaishnavas, are almost as qualified as the Supreme Lord. Yamaraj informed the Yamadutas the Vishnudutas are no less powerful than Lord Vishnu. Since Vishnu is above Yamaraj, the Vishnudutas are above the Yamadutas. Persons protected by the Vishnudutas, therefore, cannot be touched by the Yamadutas. Om Gana Tamarandasya Gyana Gana Salakaya Jakshushin Militangena Tazarishi Gurave Namaha. So only Krishna is self-sufficient, which is another way of saying that everyone depends on Krishna. Prabhupada gives the example of the villager who's very impressed by the policeman. Policeman says, stop your car, move your car, stay here. So he's very impressed. But then he notices that the policeman officer on the street, he has to listen to the chief of police. And the chief of police has to listen to the mayor. And the mayor has to listen to the governor. So he was following it up the chain. And the governor has to listen to the king. But then he saw that the king was bowing down before his spiritual master. And then he followed the spiritual master of the king home. And the spiritual master was worshiping a beautiful deity of Krishna. Therefore, you get to understand that everything ultimately depends on Krishna. We were reading yesterday, or hearing yesterday, how the bodily, the legs can't see. The eyes are directing everything. All the other senses are dependent on. And in the same fashion, we can't actually do anything. What is the one thing that the living entity can do? We don't know how our food's being digested, how our hair is growing. There is a millisecond. They've proven. Up here at UCSD, we have one of the most, what do they call it, cognitive science studies, how the brain is working and how it all works, So, okay, well, I'll ask this first. What is the one thing that the living entity can do? I'm not actually moving these glasses. I'm not actually moving my mouth. I'm not actually doing anything. Who is doing those things? Other than Dravida? Demigods, but they're given the Shakti to do that. How? It's actually happening by who? The super soul, which is where? In the heart. So what is the one thing that's in our power other than Dravida? Desire. The living entity can desire. And that's all we do. I desire to move my hand, and then Krishna allows my hand to be moved. So everything there, what I was going to say, this cognitive science they've studied, there's a nanosecond delay. The little brain flashes, I want to do something. And there's a nanosecond before and it's not just the time it takes for what are the impulses to get to the nerves, whatever, the knee bone's connected to the thigh bone, however it all works, What it actually is that Krishna is actually allowing it to happen. Krishna says, I'm the ability in all. Krishna, not us. We don't have any ability at all. So that point is being made here, and therefore one should become a little humble. What is that verse? I don't remember the Sanskrit. If one has Krishna's blessings, what are the use of other blessings? And if one doesn't have Krishna's blessings, what are the use of other blessings? What is the purport of it? If one has Krishna's blessings, what is the use or need of other blessings? And if one doesn't have Krishna's blessings, what is the need or use of other blessings? What is the meaning of that? Anyone know other than Dhruvada? I just have a sign that says, hold on, Dhruvada, hold on. I'll just hold up a little sign, a green or a red. Other than Janardhanji. You got 1 point. Let's see if... No, but we want to let somebody else into the game. Who knows?
All blessings are coming from Krishna.
That all blessings are coming from Krishna. And the classic example is Ravana, who was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And at the end, when Lord Ram had his bow strung, what is it? His life airs, along with his laughter, were cut short by the tingling sound of Lord Ram's bow. He was ha 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 ha, but Lord Ram had his arrow, and that was it, So at that moment, Parvati said, "He's your great devotee. Go save him." But what did Lord Shiva say? Dhruvada. He said, what can I do? He's against Ram. Even Lord Shiva, what can I do? So why serve anyone else? Prabhupada gives the example, if I throw a rock into a pot, there's so much social, everybody's mad at everybody else. There's, your demand my... in the Manu Samhita, which is the law book of mankind, when we were setting up ISKCON's constitution, which you will be seeing soon, Prabhupada wanted a constitution. It's almost done. It's actually quite a beautiful thing, and it's a good read, too. It's inspiring. And it's just being finished up. You'll see, it has to go one more round of review by the GBC, and then you'll see it. But a constitution means how the whole thing works. What are the relationships within all the different bodies of a society? So constitutions around the world are based on rights. I have a right to this. I have a right to that. You don't have John Locke's basic principle of law. My freedom of movement ends at the tip of your nose. I can't punch you in the nose. I have freedom to wave my arms around. So how does it all work? I have freedom of speech, but I can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. So how does the whole thing fit together? Right? So we thought, okay, well, let's look at the Manu Samhita. Manu Samhita is the law book of mankind, right? Punched in, it's Library of Congress. You can punch it in. It's all there. You can do a word search. There's absolutely nothing in Manu Samhita about rights. What? How is it possible? It's the law book of mankind. Absolutely not one word about rights. Other than Dravida. Anyone know what we, and other than Balaram? Because I could. Anyone know?
You did.
Did you give him a hint?
No, I didn't say that.
On your own, Janardhanji. So we punched in duties. Bing! It all lit up, page after page after page after page. Now, I'm demanding my rights. Give me my rights. Well, okay. That means Prabhupada says too much dependence on others ruins the vitality of the self. If I'm demanding, give me this, you give, and my sense of self-fulfillment and identity depends on others, then that's a tough spot to be in. What if, if you don't give it, I don't have it, so I'm in anxiety. But duty one can always do. Prabhupada gives the example that, there's all different ways you greet people. If someone shows up at your door, they're intoxicated elephants, Shania band, so many different things. And there's a wonderful purport. Prabhupada says, if you can't do that, then do this. It's a simplified version. If you can't do this, then do this. Well, if you can't do that, at least do this. And it gets to the point that, you can give a straw mat and a glass of water and some sweet words. And Prabhupada says, and any gentleman will be pleased. And then Prabhupada says, and if you can't do that, if you can't even give a grass mat and a glass of water and some warm words, Prabhupada says you can fold your hands and cry. You can do that. And anyone will say, all right, fine, So the point is that the ability to do our duty, that is within our power. But the point is, I was thinking of it the other day, that everyone wants their rights, everybody's demanding this, and they've all got different centers of, labor and management. You've got the 1% and the 99%. You've got the this ones and the that ones. And it's chaotic. Their interests occasionally overlap. Like you've got two circles, and there's whatever, there is in the middle there, it's where it overlaps. Okay, we get along there. But other than that, it's all dissension and disagreement and chaos. And that's how the world is working. Everybody's probably even natural allies, husbands and wives, brothers, fathers and sons. Everybody's ticked off. But if Prabhupada gives a great example. If I throw a rock into a pond, what happens? So the circles that radiate out. Are they all conflicting with each other? Overlapping and dissenting? Think of a rock, plop, and think of how are those circles going?
Consent.
You jumped ahead. They don't overlap. They're all in harmony. Why, other than Dravida and Janardhan, who seems to be hot today, what is the thing that makes all those circles not overlap and conflict?
Balance.
Balance is okay, but I gave you the analogy. Plop. They have one center. There's one, from that impact point of center, everything radiates. It doesn't matter how big the circle is, it's got the same center. Small circle, big, it's got the same center. So if Krishna, everything depends on Krishna, everything comes from Krishna, everything we do, is it proud of borrowed plumes? What is it? Jarasandha was defeated how many times? 17 times? And his friends are always, oh, it was bad luck, or, well, you didn't, the wind was against you. After 17 times, you'd clue in, So, and I'm thinking of the time factor. Let's do it this way. Prabhupada talks about how everyone wants the unfettered freedom of the soul. It's a great line. Everybody wants freedom. Everybody wants to feel that freedom. And it's counterintuitive. Anybody here ever drive a car in the snow, slushy snow or ice? If you start to skid, I'm driving my car, and I'm not the best at drivers. If I'm driving my car, and I start to slide towards Jamuna Jivana, what's the natural instinct to do?
Break.
I don't want to go this way.
Go the other way.
And what happens?
It skids more.
You see, who said that? Yeah, did you live in the snow? Yeah, exactly so. I think it's inertia is going in this direction, and you just spin. What do you do for a millisecond? You turn into it, and then you get traction. So it's counterintuitive to turn into the way you're skidding. Similarly, everyone wants to feel the unfettered freedom of the soul, and they all balk at the idea that everything depends on Krishna. There's only one center, serve Krishna. No, I'm going to do my own thing. I was at the University of, what's the time? I was at the University of Colorado, where it's great. It's Boulder. Many of them were spoiled rich children. And they're all used to, everybody gets a gold star for whatever they did. It's self-empowerment. Everything's great. Everything's groovy. Whatever you think, it's wonderful. And they all sit in a circle and they pass a feather. And everyone can say whatever they're thinking, and every truth is equal to another. It's all relative truth. And, find your own truth and your truth. If you believe it, it's good. So they're passing the feather around, right? So it was my turn. It's a long story, how I got into this situation. I said, you know what? What we think and how we feel doesn't matter one fig. I'd rip the time-space continuum. I mean, everyone was like, oh, how is it possible? What? Because the fact of the matter is, what do we know about it? We don't even know what we want. A little child, and I'm saying, oh, you're talking down to me. So, you've got a right audience, right place, right time. You have to present it properly. But the fact of the matter is, it assumes no higher truth. It assumes that there's no ultimate reality. What does rights, morality, values? It's all situation ethics. One person says that the embryo has personhood. From the point of conception, it has personhood. Somebody else calls it fetal tissue. It's just, what determines that? Well, you've got the Supreme Court, but what do they call it? Established law? But they just change. All of a sudden, they just change their ideas. Zing, we go this way. Zing, we go that way. We got a conservative court. We got a liberal court. So it's all adrift. Like it's all the conflicting circles. What's true? What's right? American Constitution. We hold these truths to be self-equal, self-evident. That all men, of course, right there, they're off. Because what about women? That's a whole other issue. But we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. Well, anybody in this room created equal? I mean, we're all thinner or taller or fatter or different colors and different personalities. And in fact, if we're treated as we're equal, we all get offended. We get bent out of shape. Don't treat me like a number. Our identity is our independent uniqueness, is our very nature of ourself. And everybody gets bent out of shape, and rightly so, if they're treated like just a work unit or whatever it is, So, and yet that's the cornerstone of American jurisprudence, is that we all have inalienable rights, and we're all created equal, and everyone's equal under the eyes of law. Well, what's it rest on? What's it rest on? Unless you accept that there's an absolute truth that is the source of all things, as it's described in this verse, then you have no locus standi. There's no central point, like the rock being dropped in the concentric circles. Unless there's an absolute truth, then everything else becomes relative and shifting and circumstantial, ethics, and there's no. It's a recipe for disaster, which is what we're experiencing now. So back to the point of if we understand, hang on a minute, we're completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord. And this idea, back to counterintuitive, because now I got to move forward quickly. Counterintuitive. It describes how the living entity, in this verse, how the Vaisnavas, the Vishnudutas, are free to wander in the universe. And we want to feel that unfettered freedom of the self. We want that. We want to feel free and adventuresome and so whatever it may be. So we have our Sankirtan devotees out in the park. And Hey, it's my vacation time, not for the devotees. Prabhupada said, they asked Prabhupada one time, what do you do for recreation? Prabhupada said, what? Our whole movement is recreation. So we're always on vacation. Every day is a holiday in Krishna consciousness. They say no bad days. There's no bad days. The only place that exists is in Krishna consciousness. But the point I'm making is those living entities are they think they're free. But what is the example given in the Bhagavatam? A big, strong animal. Other than Dravida? Big, strong animal. I've seen it. Anybody who's been to a developing country will see it. You got a bull is so strong. I mean, those Hungarian bulls, if you ever go to the farm, Krishna Valley, man, they're huge. They can knock down a fence. They can, rip up, One of them got angry and charged a tractor, pushed it over. Oh, yeah, man, they are serious animals. But how do you control it? A little ring in the nose. And you see the little kids, 6-year-old kid pulling the bull this way, pulling the bull that. We are being pulled by the nose. We think we're free. It's my vacation. Well, I'll go look at this museum. I'll go look at this, I'll hang out with this girl. I'll dump her and you find this one. Or, whatever's going on. And it's their Sunday and they're free and they're wandering in the park. But they're being pulled like a bull. The counterintuitive point is who's actually free? If so many do-nots. We don't do this, we don't do that. It's a long list of things we don't do. What is that? There's that great line Prabhupada has in Bhagavad Gita, the regulative principles of, other than Dravida. That what? Who said that? Hey, you said it? Dravida, give us a break here. You got a ventriloquist going on? What's going on over there? I think you're sitting next to Janardhan and you're a ventriloquist because I repressed you. I know what's going on now. No, I'm joking. Obviously I'm joking. So but the regulative principles of freedom, if we accept everything depends on Krishna, everything's caused by Krishna, everything's by the mercy of Krishna. And if we accept that role, then that duty, if we accept that happiness comes from duty, everyone thinks that happiness comes by titillating the senses and being freed from obligation, freed from duty. But actually, Prabhupada gives the example of the mother. Prabhupada said that a mother's love is the closest thing to spiritual love we can see in the material world. This assumes a proper mother. It assumes that. And I remember I had a good mother by Krishna's grace. We would go to the beach, take the kids, picnic lunch, all go to the beach. I remember my mother complaining that there's sand in everything. Well, you're at the beach. That's kind of like what's going to happen, So we're in the material world. We're wondering why everything's temporary and full of misery. Well, that's really the nature of the place, But I remember one time, what did kids, where my brother, my sister, and I, fool number 1, fool number 2, fool number 3. And we would always knock everything in this. One time we all knocked our sandwiches in the sand. But my mother had her 2 sandwiches. What did my mother do? Immediately gave it to the kids. And seeing the kids happy, she was happy. That's just, and you see it all the time. Mothers put up with so much stuff. So the simple point I'm trying to make is that if we understand how this world is working, how it's designed, who we actually are, what is the actual center of things, and we take up that duty of devotional service, lo and behold, that which seems counterintuitive, freedom, satisfaction, and happiness come. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, the only people free in Balboa Park, although it's got so many different little spots of some people, they have a railway museum, isn't there? So imagine that. There's, people are into railways. There's the, that Menge, which is all different handicrafts around the world. There's, there's the garden club there, So there's, whatever you're into, there's a little niche there. It's the beauty of Balboa Park. So all the different, there's modern art. It has one of the best collections of, French Renaissance paintings. Whatever's there, you can go and find your little niche there in Balboa Park. But none of them are free. Who's actually free in Balboa Park? The devotees standing behind the book table. And they were just watching. They're all going by. They're all being pulled by the nose this way and that way. And the only one who's actually free is the devotee. So, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was saying that he was in India for a number of years. And when he came back to America, he inherited the BBT library party that was doing the airports. And he was thinking, because they had the best sales, the best scores. I'm just thinking, what did I want? Okay. I guess we'll say it this way. It describes here how the Vaishnavas are attractive. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur gives his purport on this, and he says what Yamaraj is saying in a nice way is the Yamadutas are not very attractive. And the Vishnudutas are very attractive. And the karmis, the materialists, they're not very attractive. And even they're a little beautiful for a while. It doesn't have the warmth, the naturally. It's so easy to pick up a devotee at an airport. If they're in Western dress, generally speaking, I mean, this is actually, sometimes have a brahmachari and their Brahman underwears hanging out the back of their pants. I've seen that happen. But devotees have an effulgence. And they have a certain peacefulness to them. There was a guy, anyway, so many stories. An agitated mind, because they're thinking about this, they're thinking about that. They're looking at this person. They're checking out what kind of sense gratification can I get out of that person. They're not into my niche. I'm not into them. They're not into my scene. Whatever it is. So, but a devotee is steady, is peaceful, has that Brahmabhuta Prasannatma, that happiness within the self, within inside. They're relishing Krishna consciousness. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj was saying that he thought that the book distributors, they were good at techniques. Now, devotees are good at techniques. Govardhan was praising Vijay Prabhu. He said, Vijay has a secret, has a way, just a Shakti. He can just motion. Is it with a magazine? How does he do it? With a card? He has a flyer. And people will just stop, turn. It's like he just reels them in. It's just with a flick of the wrist, So devotees do develop Shakti, no doubt, from their great austerities. But the real thing is, there's an effulgence, there's a peacefulness, there's a satisfaction. And the devotees, we don't want anything from them. I mean, we want them to give their money so they get a book, so they can read it and become happy. That we want. We want something. We want moments of their attention. But we don't want to take anything from them. What do they have that they can give us? What can this person give me? They don't know anything, ultimately, in the spiritual sense. I don't want to titillate their senses or I don't want to get into that whole mess. What can they give me? But a devotee actually, and they can sense it. So the point I wanted to make, and then we'll read about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura, is we should remember the attractive value and the power of a devotee. That we have what they're looking for. It's described that if you have a whole ocean, we said the Vishnu Purana, where does this one come from? That picture all the oceans. We can't even picture it. Bodies of water on the ocean, Krishna says. So there's 7 seas, they say. There's even more, the Bering Sea, there's the Caspian Sea, so many different seas. But if you can imagine for a moment all the ocean, picture the globe, and how much is it? 7/10 of the ocean of the world is covered with water? Is that what it is? Somebody can Google it. But it's the majority of the surface of the earth is covered with water. So picture all of that. Now in that ocean, there's one sea turtle, little sea turtle, minding his own business. And in that ocean, simultaneously, there's one log, and in that log there's one knot hole. There's one hole in it. And just by chance, that little sea turtle surfaces, and it just happens to be right through the knot hole in the log. What are the odds of that? I don't even know. Where's Sariputta when you need him? Statistics, that was one of his PhDs. So the odds of meeting a devotee, it's just, you cannot calculate it. And after being wandering all over, they finally meet a devotee who can actually give them the answers, who's actually peaceful, who's actually happy. Here, take this. So we should always remember the reason we go out and the value and the benefit. And by that we become free. We actually become free. So we can end there. It's a little bit on this verse. And I just wanted to read, we have a few minutes, about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. This comes from the, this is Janani Vas Prabhu in February 3rd, 2010. After his spiritual master, Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji, passed away, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura wore a green chadar. Green is the color of separation. There was a fight. I heard Prabhupada tell this story. There was a fight over who would put him in samadhi. Gaurkishore Das Babaji, Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji. And whoever had his samadhi, like we were talking the other day, until Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur found the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it was confirmed by Jagannath Das Babaji, confirmed it. You put up a sign, birthplace of Mahaprabhu. Some tourists come. You put up a little murti there. You put a hundi out in front, with a flashing light and a green arrow, and they throw some cash in there. You got a little, coconut stand next to it. You got your wife cooking some samosas for a little, you got a little whatever it is. All over Missouri, Abraham Lincoln slept here. Turns out he never was in Missouri, whatever it is. So it's just because you get it's a means of income. So they all were fighting over who would have the samadhi of Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and he was a brahmachari. They said, you're a brahmachari. We're sannyasis, we're babas, babajis, whatever we may be. So we'll determine it. And they were all fighting with each other. Different babas, different so-called babas, so-called, And the police chief was there, police constable. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura said, here's how we'll settle this. Whoever has not had sex in the last 6 months can touch this body. And the police constable said, well, how do you know they're telling the truth? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, whoever touches this body and is sinful, dressed in saffron and sinful, their life will be cut short immediately. And he said it with such conviction. Oh, they accepted, so all right. So he said, all right. Step forward. Who in the last 6 months? None of them came forward. He said, all right, last month, none of them came forward. Last week, none of them came forward. And therefore he took the body and put it in samadhi. He started as a brahmachari. It was called the Raj Sabha. What was the full name of it? We don't have Brahma. Yeah, the last part was Raj Sabha. And it was started, it was students that he'd gone to school with and young men in Calcutta to take a vow of celibacy. They were not going to get entangled in householder life. And it started off with about 300 members. At the end, you know who the only member was? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. So, oh, here it is. They challenged, you're not a sannyasi, you're not qualified to touch the body of this renunciate. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura countered, I may be only a brahmachari, but I'm not engaged in a monkey's business. That's what he said to them. So, The original Samadhi was on the Navadvip side because the Ganga moved. The Ganga was eroding the bank and threatening the Samadhi. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura said, there are too many offenses are being committed here. So my Guru Maharaj wants to move. He wants to come over to Navadvip on the banks of Radhakund. Because he had seen that by the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all of Vrindavan had also manifest. Govardhan Hill is there, the Radhakund, Shamakund, everything is there. So he said he's tired of being in this sinful, he's coming over here. So that's where they moved the Samadhi to. As a young man, he was commissioned to organize the king of Tripura's library. Tripura is in Bangladesh, East Bengal. And the king there, because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was known as a scholar, asked him, come over and organize my library, catalog, everything. He was so impressed, and he noticed that he went on to organize the entire government of the state of Tripura, because it was full of corruption and inefficiency. He organized the whole thing for the king. The king was so impressed. What does it say here? The king was so grateful and impressed that the Maharaj said, your preaching mission is too important. Better you can spend your time on that. I will supply a lifetime's pension. He gave a lifetime pension, full salary, to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. When Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura took sannyas, he gave it up. He said, I don't need it anymore. He installed, I showed that picture last time of the original deities, installed Sri Sri Gandharvika Giridhari at Chaitanya Math. They were the first deities, marble deities in the Gaudiya Math, and they were his favorites. Here's the story how he got those deities. When he went to Jayapur to order the deities, the first shop they went into, the Murtiwala said, you've come for Radha Krishna deities, here they are. And showed him Radha Gandharvika Giridhari, Gandharvika Giridhari. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura replied, how do you know that I was looking for Radha Krishna Murtis? And how do you know these are the ones? The Murtiwala replied, I had a dream last night that these deities spoke to me. They said, tomorrow a Mahapurush will come in to your shop and ask for Radha Krishna deities. We want to take seva from him, so give us to them. I can tell that you are that saintly person, so please take them for free. And he donated the deities. So that's how he got the first marble deities, Gandharvika Giridhari. Now this is from Bhakti Chaitanya Bhakti Charu Maharaj. At 16, he started that August assembly. At the Sanskrit college, he went to the top Sanskrit college, University of Calcutta. It was the top Sanskrit college in the world. They sent the Oxford Dons studying Sanskrit to polish their Sanskrit. They sent them to this college. So it was the best and the best. So it was the top school. He quit because if he came out of it with high honors, which he would have, he was much pressure for him to get a job and take up householder life. So he bailed before he could get, on that train. It's described that he went into the library. He spent hours, I think I mentioned this last time, hours and days and weeks studying impersonal literature. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, we may lose this boy. But Prabhupada, it was all part of his strategy to completely understand impersonalism so he could dismantle it. At 23, he started an astrology school. Many prominent students who are still going on in the top of the field. He also started a magazine, the Astrological Society of India, and he was awarded the title Siddhanta Saraswati. When he took sannyas, he added Bhakti Siddhanta because the conclusion of all knowledge is Bhakti. In Koch Bihari, it's still a prominent province in northern India. The English governess hired Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. He was a householder, he was a brahmachari, sorry, Hare Krishna. He was a brahmachari. So he came to teach the prince English. And he was so expert. He had such perfect manners that he took over all the teaching of the prince. That king had a palace in Calcutta. He was known for his spiritual inclination. He invited Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura to the palace, but the court attendants blocked access for 4 days. So for 4 days, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura only took tulsi leaves when he was brought his meal. He was brought his meal because the king was a Vaishnava, didn't know what was going on. They would bring the meals And he would only take tulsi leaf, and he fasted for 4 days. When the king found out, then after 4 days, and he wasn't able to see the king, he left. He'd been fasting. He left. The king found out somehow or other, was so embarrassed and in anxiety, he went to the train station and stopped him. Brought cooks and assistants and everything. Please, please, take something. He said, why were you fasting for 4 days? He said, I had come to give you something. How can I take if I wasn't able to give? In other words, he came to give spiritual instruction, and he wasn't able to do it. So he was fasting. Gives you an idea of the caliber of this person. His Bengali writing was very simple and easy to understand. Like Narottam Das Thakur. Narottam Das Thakur was the son of a king and extremely well educated, but he's famous for his very simple Bengali poems, so that people could, the message is clear there, Like A equals MC squared, E equals MC squared. It's a very simple equation, but it's profound. Like Sariputta. Sariputta was such a good teacher because he completely understood the thing. He could break it down into little pieces and explain it. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's his Bengali was very simple. But his English was super erudite and complicated. And here was his answer. He said that the British came to undermine Vedic culture. He made the point that his English was better than the best of English scholars. That was his point, Like when Prabhupada was in London. What time is it? Prabhupada was in London. First time he went, and he was interviewed by the BBC, and they peppered Prabhupada with so many questions, whatever it is. Why do you shave your head? Why do you, what do you want in? It's just silly questions. So they peppered him with questions. So when they finished, Mukunda Maharaj told me this. Prabhupada said, I have a question for you. So this is BBC, And here's Prabhupada coming from India, which was, a dependent nation, and, begging at the United Nations, even with their so-called independence, give us rice, like that. And so here's this elderly Indian, in their mind, Swami, and he's, and we're BBC, the voice of the world. So Prabhupada said, I have a question for you. So they said, oh, yes, sir, what is that? Prabhupada said, they say the sun never sets on the British Empire. Then why does it never shine in London? And Mukunda Maharaj said, the guy was like stunned. He didn't know what to say. Prabhupada just punched him right in the nose, These silly questions, So, I don't know how we got off on that. Oh, so in the same way, so his English, just to show them that, he used the, and he also said, I have to, every word, like this has been confirmed. I personally confirm this because, Prabhupada said, Prabhupada said that Harikesh told me this, Ramaswara confirmed a second incident, and Harisari confirmed a third incident. And Shruti Kirti was present at the third incident with Harisari. And this is, Harikesh told this story. And again, he said the same thing to Ramaswara up at Kumbh Mela, but I'll just tell the Harikesh story because of time. Prabhupada, often when Prabhupada was up early in the morning, before he went on his morning walk, when the devotees were all sleeping, we're talking about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, sometimes even 1:30. If Prabhupada would invite you in, it was very sweet. If he knew that you were up, sometimes he would invite, if the tape recorder had jammed one time. Harisari told me this one. Harisari was up, 2 o'clock in the morning. Prabhupada told him, come in, please fix it. When he came in, Prabhupada used to keep, sometimes they have a little dish of sandesh. Prabhupada take a little sandesh to give him a little boost, because early in the morning, Prabhupada hadn't eaten anything. So Prabhupada broke off a little piece of sandesh and said to Harisari, this bug has been trying to get out the window. I've been watching him. He must be very tired, Prabhupada said. He must be very tired. Prabhupada said, you take this piece of sandesh and you help him outside. That's pretty sweet, So, and that's, Prabhupada would tell different stories about his early days in the Gaudiya Math. There was a householder, how he used to fight with his mother. He used to give his money to his mother. You know, you're a kid, your uncle gives you $10 for your birthday or something. So he would give it all to his mother. And when he'd get in a fight, be angry at his mother, he'd say, "Give me my money back." He asked for his money back, you know. Prabhupada wanted to run away one time. We're off the track, but it's all right. We're in Calcutta. They had trolley cars. You know, a trolley car has and it runs on electricity, right? So Prabhupada got a train schedule from the Calcutta, and he figured out the train lines. He was trying to figure out how to get from Calcutta, little boy, I don't know how old, 6, 8 years old, how to get, and he thought that if he stood on the rails and had a stick and could touch it, he could get himself to Vrindavan. You know? His mother said, no, it doesn't work that way. So, you know, he had a very sweet relationship with his mother. So, I don't know exactly how he got off on that. But there's just a few more. Oh, I didn't finish. Thank you very much, Balaram. So, yes. So Harikesh was up early. That's what got us off the track. Harikesh, and Prabhupada was up translating. Harikesha woke up. This is in Vrindavan, and you know there's Prabhupada's bedroom, or you know there's Prabhupada's darshan room, and there was that little ante room where the secretary would sit, you know, and they would greet guests, and you know so people didn't just bust in and bother Prabhupada, or you know like that. So he was ostensibly cleaning that room, but he was deliberately, you know, moving the table around, moving them to make some noise so Prabhupada would know that he was awake and invite him in. And sure enough, Prabhupada did invite him in. And Prabhupada said, "Why are you making so much noise?" Prabhupada said, "I'm trying to do my translating work and you're making all this noise." Prabhupada said, you don't understand. Prabhupada said, "I have to choose every word so carefully because these books will stand as the law books for the next 10,000 years. And that 10,000 years is not selected casually. It's because from the birth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it goes 5,000 years up. You know, like a river will be flowing one way and then there's a cross current, there's an eddy like a cross current, you know. So Kali Yuga's, you know, the mighty Mississippi, it's rolling this way. But there's a cross current in the Kali Yuga, which started from the birth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I heard Prabhupada personally describe this. And he's also in that Bhakti Gata where there's the interview with the Beach Boys, believe it or not. They met Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said from the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there's a golden age. It goes up for 5,000 years and it plateaus for 5,000 years. And then it's over. And one of the Beach Boys asks, "What happens after those 10,000 years?" Prabhupada says, "Oh, you can see the fun." You know, and we can see it already. People, are, you know, they don't drink milk so much anymore. They're all on almond milk. And, you know, I understand the ethical reasons for that, you know. And the fruit's becoming, you know, green fruit shipped from Chile. I wouldn't feed it to a dog, you know. It's all because everything's it happens in increments. It's all the lifespan is decreasing, the quality of the food's decrease. Everything's decrease, you know. Wheat, you know, whatever it is. They can't even eat the wheat now. Everybody's got an allergy. Eventually, all that will just say sugar, milk, wheat, good fruits, all gone at the end of Kali Yuga. But the point is that Prabhupada said these books will stand as the law books for the next 10,000 years. And that 10,000 signifies that golden age wherever the Vaishnavas are, that cross current to the age of Kali. So Prabhupada you have to choose the words. He was only preaching from 1920 to 1936, only 16 years, and he opened 64 temples and had something like 20,000 disciples. I'm looking for the exact number. I'll get it when I get it. And we'll end with this. His other name was Barshabhanami Devi Daiti Das, which is the name for Srimati Radharani. It was understood that he was a Manjari, one of the maidservants of Srimati Radharani. And we'll finish on this last note. His father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, used to joke when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura would come. He would say, oh, Srimati Radharani must be also very near now. Because he was in his previous rasa was a Manjari, so if he's there, Radharani must be nearby. So who can imagine such a personality? We come in this lineage. We should remember the line that we're in. When we're out there on... First off, because I want to end. When we go out there and meet them, we are their only hope. What is the last great hope? And we should be fully confident of what we're delivering. Who translated these books? We are simply, what do they call it, the tip of the spear? You know, in the army, there's how many... I forget what the average is, but those who are actually on the front line fighting are a very small percentage of the actual army. I don't know if it's like 10%. I think it's even less than that. It's like 15%. You got the cooks, you got the guys transporting everything, you've got the logistics, you got civil engineers, the Army Corps of Engineers that made the bridge, they can get all of that's the back. You got all the training, all of that's the back. And a small percentage is actually on the front line. You wouldn't have the front-line soldier if you didn't have all the back. So whoever dresses the deity, whoever makes the sandwiches, they're all benefit. But the fact of the matter is, when they meet that devotee, that effulgent, wandering devotee, free, wandering without any obligation, without any ring through the nose, when they meet that devotee, it's a transformative moment for them. We may not know it. I can't remember right now, but just some of the... Govardhan was buzzing me up the other day. And Dimitri mentioned some other stories. Just a few castaway lines. They're not castaway because the devotees are serious. But a few words from a Sankirtan devotee stays with them for their life. Somebody was saying, who was saying it? Was that Balaram in class? Somebody was saying in class that 10 years later... You were saying about Nishringa Krishna. People have been on the social media for 10 years. They say that for people to hear a message, they have to hear it 6 times before it actually soaks in. They hear it, they don't even notice it. Next time they notice the color of the advertisement. Next time they notice, oh, there's words on there. Next time, oh, Coke is the real thing. And after 6 or 7 times, they think, oh, maybe I'll buy a Coca-Cola. I mean, that's how thick they are. So... they're being pulled by the ring by the nose, and then Vijay fishes them over with a flyer, or Govardhan or Dimitri, or one of the Sankirtan devotees, and they've been blown like that, through and finally they come before a devotee, and even they don't buy a book. I've had people say, "Oh, they were so nice. I've never met anyone like that. They were unagitated." The man wasn't checking out the woman. The women get checked out all the time. Everybody's checking them out. Imagine. And they know it. Sometimes they exploit it. But sometimes if you're a little pious, geez, give me a break. Devotee's not into any of that. Devotees don't care what they look like. They don't care if they're fat or small or thin. Or they don't even care if they're nice. They'll still try to win them over. So we should remember what we're giving them, what we're putting in their hand. That book, Prabhupada chose every word carefully. What is that? And we'll end here, I promise. What is the classic example that Prabhupada gives confirming the potency of Srila Prabhupada's books? That there are so many versions of, other than Dravida and Vijay, there are so many translations of Bhagavad Gita. Even the one where Arjuna is the caddy and Krishna is the caddy and Arjuna is the golfer. It's all kinds of weird things. So, what is the difference of Prabhupada's Gita? What is the undeniable proof of the potency of Prabhupada's Gita? So many people became devotees. There were so many other versions of Bhagavad Gita. Tamal Krishna Maharaj meeting the Sanskrit professor. I was standing next to him, University of Michigan. Have you read Bhagavad Gita? Of course I've read Bhagavad Gita. Did you understand it? The guy was miffed. What do you mean? I got my PhD in Sanskrit, and in Hindology. And have you read it? Yes. Did you understand it? What? And then Tamal asked him, so what are you going to do? And you saw this look of puzzlement. The guy was like, do? The idea that Bhagavad Gita was a call to action, that he was expected to change, never even crossed his mind. So we have to remember what we're doing. When we're out there, you give them that book, it changes lives. Definitely. Okay, so weekend in there. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you.